Over two-thirds of first-time chicken keepers rebuild their coop within 18 months. Not a carpentry problem, a design priority problem. We build for what looks good, not for the physics of moisture and predators. The result, money spent twice, weekends lost, birds that never settled. Today, 5 design decisions that eliminate rebuilds permanently. Each one locks into the next. Get them right, and you stop maintaining a shelter. You start running a system. Chicken keeping is a closed loop. Where you place the coop dictates how water moves around it. How water moves dictates how you manage moisture inside. How you manage moisture dictates where your ventilation goes. Ventilation placement dictates how you secure the structure without creating drafts. And every single one of those decisions either adds friction to your daily routine or removes it. We are going to move through these 5 elements in a very specific sequence, and the order matters. By the time we reach the end, you will have a complete mental blueprint. You will know exactly which measurements to trust, which materials to refuse, which corners to cut, and which shortcuts will cost you 10 times more down the line. Stick with this through to the finish, because the final piece ties the economics together. A properly designed coop turns from a weekend project into a multi-year asset, barely needs your attention. A 2 to 3% grade, that is all you need. If your site is perfectly flat, you're already behind. Water that pools under a coop does not just sit there. It wicks up into the wood. It turns your bedding into mud. It creates an ammonia trap that will burn your chicken's respiratory tissue. You will see it in the sneezing, in the watery eyes, in a sudden spike in winter mortality that feels like it came from nowhere. But before you even think about grading, you need to face the long axis of that coop toward true south or southeast. In a temperate or cold climate, winter sun is a free heating system. It penetrates deep into the structure. It warms the floor. And most importantly, it drives out humidity. Moisture is what freezes. Dry air does not. A south-facing wall with properly placed high windows will keep the interior significantly drier in January than a north-facing box ever could, even with a heater running inside it. That is not an opinion. That is thermal mass and solar angle doing the work for you. Now, think about your garden place, the coop within 50 feet of it. Hauling finished compost 50 feet is a chore you will actually do. Hauling it 150 feet is a chore you will abandon by July, but keep it at least 20 feet from high traffic areas, doors, and play zones, close enough to benefit from the nutrient cycle, far enough to avoid odor flies and disease crossover. This step costs exactly $0. It is just observation and planning. But it sets the physical rules for everything that follows. What it cannot fix is what happens when the enclosed space gets the dimensions wrong. And that mistake is biological, not structural. 4 square feet indoors per bird, that is not a suggestion. That is the biological line where your flock either functions or falls apart. Drop below that number and hens cannot establish a pecking order. Stress hormones climb. Feather picking starts, egg eating follows, the litter never dries properly. Disease spreads faster, you end up fighting the birds instead of raising them. Outside they need 10 square feet each, room to forage, dust bathe, stretch their wings, and settle disputes without constant confrontation. Build your coop on a 4 by 8 foot footprint whenever you can. It matches standard plywood sheets and lumber lengths. You waste almost nothing at the store. Your structural math stays clean. Peak height inside should sit between 4.5 and 6 feet. 6 feet lets you stand erect, clean, inspect, and treat a sick bird without contorting your spine. Elevate the entire floor structure at least 18 inches off the ground. This is not about storage underneath. It is a moisture barrier. Air circulating under the floor keeps the wood dry. Rain splash does not rot the bottom plates. And 18 inches puts the floor out of comfortable reach for most digging animals. 2 problems solved with 1 simple frame. Nest boxes follow a radio, 1 box for every 3 to 4 hens. 12 by 12 by 12 inches, that is the sweet spot. Anything larger and 2 hens will crowd in together. They crush eggs. They stress each other out. Anything smaller, and they abandon the boxes entirely and lay on the floor. Size is not about comfort. It is about behavioral engineering. Get the spacing right, and your flock regulates itself. Get it wrong, and you're fighting instincts with a broom every single morning. But there is one variable working inside that correctly sized space every single hour. One thing most builders never account for, and it quietly destroys everything they just built. One mature hen exhales about a cup of water vapor every single day. If you have 8 birds in a sealed coop, that is over a gallon of moisture pumped into the air inside that structure every single day. It condenses on the walls, it freezes on the roosts, it soaks into their feathers, and that is where frostbite starts, not from cold, from damp. Chickens handle dry cold remarkably well. Wet cold, that is what takes combs and wattles. Ammonia builds up from the manure, burns their respiratory systems, and invites chronic infection. The fix is permanent ventilation high up. Above the roost line, near the ridge if you can manage it, you need at least 1 square foot of opening for every 10 square feet of floor space. In hot or humid climates, double that number. Place those openings on opposite walls, staggered so air actually moves across the space, not straight through at bird height. That is a draft. That makes them sick. Warm, moist air rises on its own. Let it escape at the ceiling. That is just physics working for you. Every single opening gets covered with half-inch hardware cloth, not chicken wire, hardware cloth. Here's the part that changes your whole routine. When airflow stays consistent, the bedding stays dry, it stays aerobic, it composts in place over 4 to 6 months. You're not shoveling manure, you're building soil. That is the difference between a weekly core and a system that runs itself. 3 down, 2 to go. If this is the kind of practical breakdown you want in your feed, a subscribe takes 2 seconds. It costs you nothing. Before we get into predator proofing, if you have already built a coop, what is the single biggest frustration you have dealt with? Drop your setup and your worst bottleneck in the comments. I read every single one. Your real world experience shapes exactly what we cover next. Now security. This is where most coops fail, and it is almost never where you think. A raccoon can reach through chicken wire, grab a hen by the neck, and dislocate its own shoulder to pull her out. That is not a guess. That is what chicken wire was designed to let happen. It keeps chickens in. It was never meant to keep predators out. Every window, every vent, every run wall needs half-inch hardware cloth. Staple it on the outside, screw it over wood trim. If a predator can hook a claw through it, it is already inside your flock. Now, ground defense. Digging predators follow the path of least resistance. You have 2 proven geometries. First, bury your hardware cloth 12 to 18 inches straight down along the perimeter. Second, attach an L-shaped footer that extends outward 12 to 18 inches from the base. Then cover it with dirt, gravel, or grass. When an animal starts digging at that footer, it hits the Hunrainville barrier, realizes the curve, makes no progress, and moves on. Both methods work. Choose the one that matches your soil and your tools. But here's the part that costs people their entire flock. You're exhausted. It is raining. You forget to close the coop door. One night, a single flock can be wiped out for $300 or more in lost birds, replacement costs, and emotional tolls. Spend $150 to $250 on a reliable automatic door, solar or battery powered with a built-in light sensor and manual override. It closes at dusk, opens at dawn. It removes the most common cause of total flock loss. That is not a luxury gadget. That is behavioral insurance. Your structure is now secure from the outside. The last design decision works from the inside, and it determines whether you spend 5 minutes or 15 on this every single morning for the next 5 years. 10 minutes a day. That is what a poorly designed coop costs you. Over 5 years, that is over 300 hours, nearly 2 full work weeks of your life, gone to bad layout decisions. Your coop is not a shelter. It is a daily workstation. Design it like a tool, and it will serve you. Design it like a storage shed, and you will spend your weekends maintaining it. Start with your nest boxes. Mount them with external access doors. You should be able to collect eggs, check for breaks, and swap bedding without ever stepping inside the main enclosure. Less tracking in mud, less disturbing the flock, faster mornings. Next, your feeders and waterers. Place them at the heath of birds' backs, not on the ground. Elevated stations reduce spillage. They keep feed out of droppings. They cut waste by up to 30%. Run the math on that. Less feed in the dirt means fewer rodents, less mold growth, and more money staying in your pocket. Waterers need a raised platform with a drip tray, no pooling. Wet feed turns sour. Sour feed causes crop impaction. Prevention is just gravity and height. Now your clean outdoor, make it large, at least 24 by 24 inches. If you're running a deep litter system, you need to turret check moisture and eventually remove finished compost. Trying to drag a shovel through a standard chicken-sized door is a back injury waiting to happen. 5 decisions locked in. A workflow optimized coop takes 5 minutes a day. That gives you 10 minutes back every single morning. But here's the part nobody tells you. Even a perfect design built in the wrong order creates the exact problems you just spent 20 minutes learning to prevent. Do not just start cutting boards and hoping it all fits together. That is how you end up with a crooked coop and a stack of wasted lumber. You clear and level your site first, lay your gravel base or set your pier blocks, then frame the floor and the walls. Keep everything square before you ever touch sheathing. Here's the move that saves you a full day of rework. Install your hardware cloth on every opening before you add exterior siding. Once those walls are up and you're trying to retrofit predator proofing, you're tearing off what you just nailed. Cut and frame your high vents next. Cross ventilation has to align with your roof pitch and where your roosts sit inside. Now add your interior roosts, nest boxes, and feed stations. Seal every exterior gap. Install the automatic door. Double check every seam, every corner, every ground line. Only when that structure is fully secured, dree and ventilated do you bring in the flock. Never house birds in an unfinished coop, not even for one night. Predators map neighborhoods fast. One open window tonight teaches them exactly where to return tomorrow. The sequence is locked in. Now there's a number that changes everything about how you size this coop, and it is the one piece of information most builders get wrong from the start. A 4 by 8 foot coop, standard lumber, half-inch hardware cloth, basic roofing, automatic door. You're looking at $400 to $700 in materials. Depends on your local lumber market. Depends on whether you buy hardware cloth at the farm store or order it online. Here's the number that matters. If you sip the details, you rebuild. Moisture deluge a predator gets in, the workflow frustrates you every single morning. That rebuild, $800 to $1,400 plus the vet bills, plus the eggs you lost, plus your own time, which you never get back. The cheapest coop is the one you only build once a steady flock of 6 to 8 hens, 2 to 3 eggs a day. Run that math. That system pays for itself in 8 to 12 months, not through some magic, through saved feed, through reduced replacements, through the rebuild cost you never had to spend. After that, it is just maintenance, compost, and fresh egg ES. Fast forward 3 years, that same coop is still standing in your yard. Winter rain sheets off the roof. High vents are pulling moisture out before it ever condenses. Your deep litter has cycled into dark, crumbly compost. You spread it directly on your garden beds. Your morning routine takes 5 minutes. You open the nest box door, check the water, let the flock out, and walk away. No patches, no emergency fixes. No dreading the weekend chores. Just a quiet, dry, functioning system. It runs itself because the architecture was correct from day one. That is the end goal, not a perfect Instagram photo, a reliable, low-friction asset that protects your investment and gives you back your time. If you're planning your first build or finally fixing a coop that has been fighting you for months, use this video as your checklist, save it, reference it, build it right the first time. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 design elements would you prioritize differently for your specific climate or your property layout? Drop your setup in the comments, your biggest bottleneck, your hard-earned lesson. I will reply to as many as I can in the next video. I'm breaking down exactly how to cut your annual feed bill in half, without compromising egg production, without hurting flock health, without sacrificing winter hardiness. The math is surprisingly simple once you understand the forage to concentrate ratio. Subscribe. Hit the bell so you do not miss it. I will see you there.